Tonight looks to be one of the craziest nights. But before we, in AFL, NBA FL, well, but let's hop into our AFL ones first, as the playoffs have already we're in the playoffs in both leagues. Let's go ahead and hop in for the wild card. In the wild card round between the Jets versus the Dolphins, the Preds shocked everyone, showing that second game that was played wasn't a fluke with the 50-28 win. There has been some negative reactions though, but millions guys like Brown now won 4-7-4-6. And also playing the wild card was the Niners versus the Cowboys, and also Broncos versus the Chargers, Falcons versus Bears, and also not to forget Titans versus Browns. The 49ers advanced to the to the divisional round, being the Cowboys 12-6. And a close game turned out to be the second time in a row for Emperor Dez, as his Broncos lost to the Chargers 34-32. The Falcons showed they know how to party by mauling the Bears 42-20. So our next game up will be the Titans will be taking on the Browns. Now, the winner of that game will have to go on and face the Chargers. And then the winner of that game has to face on the Steelers in the AFC Championship game. Speaking of the Steelers, they faced the Jets. And one of the league's in-depth ATL shows that the league's best offense was clearly the better one. As they constantly pressured Pred, making him to make some big time mistakes. And the final score turned out to be a Steelers win, 50-28. The coincidence about this was that they scored 78 points. For the Jets, they scored 78 points on them, and got dropped 78 points against them. Overall, they dropped 78 points, and then they gave up 78 points. And amazingly, they were the same scores. So, you hate to see it. But, oh yeah, also not to mention, I also forgot that another divisional game looks to be a rematch. This one looks to be rookie quarterback H. Jackson making his playoff debut against the Minnesota Vikings with Pat Easy. Pat looks to show that pretty much the Vikings are the competitive team, and I can really see why, because looking at statistics, this team pretty much has been off and on. But as we go ahead and look into our previews of these wildcard matches between the Packers and the Vikings and Titans versus the Browns, here's what you guys have to know. When you look at the Titans, you think they have a pretty strong offense, led by ex-Lentor, who tossed 31 touchdowns against 11 interceptions, totaling 2,546 passing yards. The passing yardage total was ninth in the NFL level in the AFL. And his backups have done pretty good too. If you really went ahead and look at Tennessee, backup Calvin Five, a former quarterback, a former starting QB in AFL that's now turned wide receiver, he showed that he can play quarterback too, with tossing 6 touchdowns against 4 interceptions. Meanwhile, there's also Ventrix, who also played, who went 11 for 20 with 309 yards, 2 touchdowns against 2 interceptions. Calvin has 510 passing yards and went 23 for 43. When you look at the Browns, there's 3 guys. There's been the main key 3 that has been passing it. And first, you gotta have to talk about the rookie I throw picks, who we all know has a gunslinger mentality, tossing 23 touchdowns against 19 interceptions while having 2,341 passing yards. With the while the Browns pretty much while playing in 7 games, only one of his backups will be available, and that'll be Fallow, who against the Rams went 12 for 23, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns against 1 interception. The Browns win though was memorable as they knocked the Rams out of the playoffs. The other backup, he's gonna be gone for this one. Now it's good old Brandon, 13 for 25, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns against 3 interceptions. He won't be available due to the fact that he was banned from AFL on charges that should be pretty much, everyone's thinking about getting it reported criminal wise. So overall, these teams have they've had a backup quarterback start a game, at least 2. Start at least 1 game. Either way, the leading what's gonna help the Browns is pretty much how they're gonna fare. How the running game is okay-ish, with good old Brandon having 3 carries for 12 yards, Foul for 7 carries for 41 yards, and I throw picks, who actually changed his name to I don't throw picks. Or we could better call him as Cole. 34 carries, 233 yards, and 3 touchdowns. If you look at the Titans, the only really true rusher was Kiak, 8 carries for 48 yards, and no touchdowns. Moss, Aldrin, and Excellentor each went ahead and carried the ball a few times, but I don't think this is going to be an interest. It's going to be a bad taste in their mouths. Overall, the Browns have the better rushing offense, while the Titans didn't really run the ball that much, so they're probably one of the low tier teams. So when you talk about receivers, none of them had pretty much cracked 700 yards receiving. The only one that got close to it was Titans receiver Mallory, 29 catches, 645 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And that could be. But then again, this is also the Titans we're talking about. So you have to mention the other guys: Calvin, Super MBK, Miserable Moron, Kiak, Divine Derek, and don't forget let's also not forget Dan and MD. Overall, those were kind of like the main guys that they really passed it to. When it comes to the Browns, Fallick was pretty much the main receiver. With 21 catches, 548 yards, but only scoring 2 touchdowns. Dramatic Load, and Napoleon Dynamite, Reese Puffs, and L.K. Vaughn, they went ahead and saw more touchdowns than the leading receiver. Max the Cat also had only played in 2 games, but he did get 2 touchdowns. So pretty much when we talk, so their offense. So now that we talk about the offense, let's talk about defense. And the defensive back wise, they have 2 guys in the top. They pretty much have 2 guys in the top 10. And that, actually 2 guys that have 5 interceptions or more. That's Mallory and MMD, who they combine for 14 interceptions. But Fallick and Napoleon Dynamite, they also have their respective amount of interceptions too, at 6 and 5, combining to be a total of 11. Looking at this, Zeke also had 3 interceptions to add on, as well as Kiak with his 3. And let's not forget Miserable Moron with this too. So you're adding 8 interceptions to, that's going to be 22 interceptions. Overall, Tennessee has the better pass defense. Oh yeah, so they overall it comes down to like around 25 interceptions. But another guy that they have to worry about. But as for the Browns, they didn't really have that much guys that pretty much had interceptions, but they had like around 20 as well. But when you talk on the defensive line, the only really true, none of these guys were pretty much proficient in sacks. The only good guys will be Go Crusader with 4 sacks, Halo Venti with 5 sacks for the Browns, and Nat the Goat for the Titans with 5 sacks as well. As for the kick return game, only Kiak and Fallick are the only guys with returns. But we're going to be talking a little bit more about this stuff. Oh yeah. So my prediction is going to be a Titans win. I'm not really sure how pretty much Pix is going to approach this game, but then again, you have 2 very experienced. But the Titans are a very experienced team. And I was kind of surprised that they went ahead and they were the but I wasn't surprised that they were the I'm kind of surprised that they were the number 3, that they weren't the number 3 seed, even though they probably did better, as they did put up a good fight for a little bit against the Steelers. Now, as we talk about the other team, yes, I'm talking about we're talking Vikings. And we're talking Vikings versus Packers. Here's what you guys need to know about this game. Pat Easy has been in the top 15. 23 touchdowns against 17 interceptions, while racking up 2,112 passing yards. His offense has a knack of selling, though, as he's only played in 6 games at QB. The guys that his backups, Popper 505, 6 touchdowns against 10 interceptions, despite throwing for 745 yards. And overall, that's the only other backup. Meanwhile, out in Green Bay's quarterback, it's Jackson, has shown that he is the better rookie quarterback. Unlike his draft classmate, I throw picks, tossing. Despite not having that much yardage, with 2,491 yards, he surprised some with throwing 33 touchdowns against 17 interceptions. Amazingly, that's pretty much an impressive feat. In fact, to be honest with you, that is 5 less than Seahawks quarterback Kyetra, and that's saying something. In fact, there's also 2 less than Seahawks quarterback Reese. Man, not Seahawks quarterback, Niners quarterback. Oof. The rushing offense for this team is pretty much led by the quarterbacks. Pat Easy with 37 carries for 267 yards and 1 touchdown. And Popper 505 with 7 carries for 41 yards. Overall, they didn't really run the ball that much. Green Bay, they ran it a few times with Moose Village with 1 carry for 4 yards, while Seinfeld 2 carries for 12 yards. But the leading rusher was Jackson himself, with 61 carries, 547 yards, and 4 touchdowns. The 547 yards was 3rd in the league, behind Beast QT and Reese. If you look at the receivers, it's just been a back and forth thing. Both teams' receivers aren't really that much productive. I mean, just Jocelyn New is the only true guy that was productive, with 32 receptions for 658 yards and 10 touchdowns. On the Vikings side, next year he's with 25 catches for 531 yards and 4 touchdowns. You gotta wonder what are both teams doing. That shows that these quarterbacks are forced to spread the ball out a lot. For the Packers, Polo, and for the Vikings, Cremonium. Overall, they have to use a spread out offense. I mean, it kind of does go ahead. I mean, it kind of really does go ahead and support the fact that why Jackson's passing touchdowns number was so high. But for Pat, his defense and his receivers just tend to let him down. So I kind of feel I feel bad for the man. I really do. I really do. On the secondary side, there hasn't really been much to talk about for the Packers. It's Jackson and Persian King lead the Packers team in interceptions, each tied with 4 apiece. As for the Vikings, Pat, Rummy Manilot, and Hoodville have tied the lead with 2 interceptions apiece. Which makes you wonder, what pretty much are they doing out there? Are they really trying to go ahead and make him look bad? We all wonder. Yeah, we all wonder. As for the defensive line, Green Bay pretty much sack leader was Tate Capelot with 4 sacks for 63 yards. For the Vikings, they also have 4. The leading sack leader was 4 sacks by Days Hit Him Up. As for kick returns, just joshing you, Packers leading receiver, pretty much was the only guy for Green Bay league getting a racking up their kick returns, while the Vikings went ahead and had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 guys have a kick return, which shows their struggle in the kick return game. But then again, it's the Vikings, so you can't really blame them. Now, predicting this game, I predict it's gonna be a close one. This one's like the Titans versus Browns. I think that's gonna be a close one. This one should be that spread thing. That should be like a spread up of 4 points between those guys. As for everything else, not so much. But either way, I look forward to what these quarterbacks are going to bring to the table. But I'm gonna get beat. But looking at this, for the here's gonna be the big part. If the Packers go ahead and as he said, the Packers win against the Vikings, they go on to face to pretty much face the Falcons. If the Vikings win, they have to go on and face. They'll be forced to go ahead and face the Seahawks and Kyetra. And try not to go ahead and talk about those. Not really trying to go ahead and go big here. And meanwhile, they're pretty much the last NFC game is on the line. Overall, the winner